Hello! Welcome to NCH Main Train webinar. Disinfection Program, 3 steps to keep you and your business safe and sanitized. My name is Ana Ho. I am with NCH Philippines and will be your host and moderator for today. I want to thank you for taking your time out of the day to join us. We do have a large number of people online, so everyone will be muted throughout the webinar. If you have questions, please click at the question mark, which appears at the right side of your screen. Type in your question in the question box and send them to the panelists anytime during the webinar. It will be answered after the presentation gets done. Moving to our agenda. Today, we will learn about the different types of germs, how they get into our body. Most importantly, crucial 3 steps of disinfection program. Clean, sanitize, disinfect in order to keep you and your business safe and sanitized. Now let me introduce to you our presenters for today. John Paul Surdo, Vice President for Strategy and Business Development for NCH Corporation. John has over 15 years of experience in cleaning and hygiene industries. He holds an MBA degree in General Management from University of Wisconsin, System and Management Certificate from Penn State University, and Dr. Charles Greenwald, Global Biotechnology Program Director of NCH Corporation. Dr. Charles has been with NCH for 11 years, with experience in product development, industrial microbiology, biothreat detection. He owns a doctorate degree in genetics. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone joining, and thanks for tuning in. Today, we'd like to spend a bit of time taking you through the importance of implementing a cleaning and disinfecting program to protect your employees and customers alike as you start to reopen your facilities. However, before getting into the actual presentation, I'd like to call your attention to 2 important resources. The first is your official government website, and ensuring you are tracking these websites, which are being updated on a regular basis and providing vital information regarding return to work policies, as you will see on this slide. The important point you will find is a common theme which revolves around the employer's responsibility to protecting employees and customers, which in the end should be all of our priorities to ensure businesses are able to run smoothly coming out of these lockdowns. The second important source is the WHO website, which I am sure many of you have been through this website already as you are tracking this through the period of COVID. The area I want to call your attention to is their 4-stage process to getting your workplace ready for COVID-19. These 4 steps include the following. Number 1, make sure your workplaces are clean and hygienic. Number 2, promote regular and thorough hand washing by employees, contractors, and customers. Number 3, promote good respiratory hygiene in your workplace through mask wearing or social distancing. And number 4, advise employees and contractors to consult national travel advice before going in to other countries on business trips, as the policies may differ per country. Now that we have discussed the 2 important resources, I'd like to start our presentation today on the importance of cleaning and disinfecting and how NCH can help you through this process to serve as a resource. Before we get into the important process of keeping your facility safe, I'd like to start with the basic science of why we need to clean and disinfect. And that is germs. So what are germs? Germs are microscopic organisms. Most will not harm you, but some will. The most common types of germs we'll find in our facilities are viruses, bacteria, and fungi. And you would ask, how are germs spread? Well, bacteria and fungi can thrive anywhere there's a warm and moist environment in your home, so like in a kitchen. But viruses are different. Around 1/100th the size of a bacterium, viruses can be inside a living host in order to reproduce. So it's through this process that they cause disease. so in your body, for instance, or where there's a soiled surface. Moving on to the next slide, I'd like to get into a bit more detail about the three types of germs. So starting with a virus. Viruses are smaller than cells and reproduce by invading cells in your body. When it comes to removing these germs from surfaces, viruses are the hardest of the three germs to kill, but not impossible. In terms of viruses, we break them into two types of viruses, which are enveloped and non-enveloped. Enveloped viruses, for instance, are what we're dealing with today, the COVID-19, H1N1, and HIV. These are easier to remove than non-enveloped viruses. And most products, if the proper product with registration, will remove these. Non-enveloped viruses, on the other hand, have attachable outer surfaces and make them much harder to kill as they create a coating. An example of this is a neurovirus. The second germs we refer to are bacteria. These are single-cell organisms and grow and reproduce with the presence of nutrients. There are friendly and nasty bacteria. But as we are speaking today about removing germs from surfaces, today we want to focus on the nasty bacteria, which these are also broken down into two categories, gram-negative and gram-positive. Example of a gram-negative is E. coli. This lives in a kitchen environment as it provides a warm and moist area for these guys to thrive. An example of a gram-positive is a MRSA. These live on open wounds, which is also a moist surface. The final virus are fungi, which are larger cell or multi-cell, and like bacteria, grow and reproduce with nutrients. They also survive in warm and moist environments. An example of a fungi are mold and yeast. Yeast example is athlete's foot, as that usually survives in a warm environment in a shower area, and are actually very hard to kill. Now that we understand the different variety of germs, let's discuss the common sources of germs. For instance, germs can be found in contaminated food and water, on regularly touched surfaces like doorknobs, taps, equipment, controls, and telephones, cleaning and waste areas like tins, sinks, and toilets, where there's a lot of soil and area for them to survive. The waste of food, or food that's gone bad, that's molded, cleaning rags and towels. They can be found through animals like rodents and flies, and also on other people. The important point to remember is germs are everywhere, and they don't discriminate. Being aware that germs are everywhere, we should also be aware how they enter into our bodies. So how do they actually enter into our bodies? They can be eaten in contaminated food. Germs in the air can be inhaled through our nose and mouth and get into our lungs. Germs in our skin can enter via a cut or a wound. They can be introduced into our bloodstream through injections, surgeries, or animal bites or insect bites. And finally, some specific germs can enter through body fluids, through body-to-body contact. Now that we spent a bit of time on the basics of germs and how they spread, I'd like to transition the discussion into the importance of cleaning and disinfectants, and what NCH can do to help your business. The first topic I'd like to call to your attention is the importance of the 3 points on this slide and the key difference between the three. Starting with cleaners. Cleaners are usually the most important part of the process as they remove the soil on a surface and allow and get rid of that host where that germ is surviving. It's important to do this on a regular basis. The second is sanitizing. And what's important to remember about sanitizing, it reduces the number of germs on a surface. It should be used in the food area, for instance, or on frequently touched, high-touch surface areas. These generally kills 99% of germs. The final one is disinfectants. Disinfectants actually stop the spread of germs on the surface. So that's the difference between a sanitizer. It actually stops the spread of germs on the surface. It's good practice to disinfect regularly all non-food areas as permitted by time. And these generally kill 99.99% of all germs. In order to give you a visual perspective of the importance of the combined process of cleaning, disinfect, and sanitizing, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Charles Greenwell, who will take you through a live demo. Charles, over to you.
Thank you, John Paul. So right now, what I'd like to actually talk to you a little bit about is the importance of cleaning and degreasing of a surface prior to disinfecting. So we're all trying to actually do a great job at actually sanitization and keeping our work surfaces clean and safe and reduce the amount of pathogens that are on the surface. But if we don't clean and degrease prior to actually disinfecting, it will actually basically be a waste of time. Because a couple of main things that is really going on. The bacteria are small particles and they're easy to hide on any type of surface. So if we have dirt or we have grease on the surface, those bacteria can hide from the disinfectant, and the disinfectant won't be able to touch the bacteria or viruses, and it'll actually make those disinfectants less likely able to kill. And what we did is we created a little bit of a demo to demonstrate that. What we have here is we have a metal coupon. This metal is steel. These metal coupons, what I did was dip them in bacterial solutions. So this is an example of, like, say, a hard surface. This is a hard metal surface. And the coupon on the left, I dipped that into a bacterial solution, and then I rinsed the bacteria off to see if I could get bacteria recovered from the surface. And then below that, what I did was I plated that on a nutrient agar plate. So if there's any bacteria left on that coupon that washed off, over a 24-hour period in an incubator, that bacteria will grow and be able to see it. So if you look down at the very bottom, what you see is a lawn of bacteria that have grown over 24 hours. What that really shows is we were able to recover, if we deliberately applied bacteria to a surface and then we washed it off, we were able to recover a lot of bacteria. And then these were clean metal surfaces. The second grouping, if you look at the top on the top right, and we did the same thing too. We dipped that metal coupon in a bacterial solution. Then we took that coupon and disinfected it for 1 minute. Then what we did is we plated it over 24 hours. We looked to see if the bacteria formed on the surface. And what you can see is there's very few small dots of bacteria. That disinfectant performed according to the label. It killed 99.9% of all the bacteria present. If you look very closely, you see maybe 5 or 6 different bacterial cells that were able to survive. And those are optimal conditions. So what you did is you had a surface. Those surfaces were clean, and the disinfectant did a great job at removing the bacteria and killing it. This is an example of what happens if you have a surface that is not clean. So on the top left, what we have is a bacterial coupon that I dipped in bacteria, and then I spread a dirty solution, so a dirty water solution on the surface. In this case, the solution was made out of carbon, a little bit of ink, and some soil. Then we tried to rinse that material off, and we disinfected that first, and then we rinsed it off. And if you look at the bottom left, there's a lot more bacteria, those little bacteria that have grown over a 24-hour period. So what that tells us is that having a dirt on the surface and a non-clean surface, what it'll end up doing is it will allow a lot more bacteria to survive the disinfectant process. On the right, what we have is almost a worst case scenario. So a greasy solution was then applied to that coupon after we dipped it into a bacterial solution. Well, grease is interesting. So grease is hydrophobic. So disinfectants tend to be aqueous based, so they're water based. Grease is hydrophobic, so it keeps water away. So if you have bacteria underneath that grease, the disinfectant will never be able to reach it because the grease is hydrophobic and pushes the disinfectant away. And as you can see, when we rinsed off the bacteria off that surface after we disinfected, there's a lot of bacteria there. So the worst case scenario is if you have a greasy surface and you don't clean it, you try to disinfect it, the disinfectant's ability to sanitize is extremely limited. So in conclusion, what you really need to do if you want to make sure that your surface has a good level of sanitation, you need to clean before disinfection, and then that'll achieve the maximum results, and the disinfectant will be able to work appropriately according to what its label claims are. If you have a dirty surface, so if it's not grease, you want to use a general cleaner. If it's a greasy surface, NCH has a lot of different products, but Duo Power is a product that you can use to clean a greasy surface. And then you want to disinfect with a product like Everbright. That will do a great job. You do all that together, do a great job of removing any type of bacterial or viral contaminants on a surface and keeping the workplace safer. John Paul, back to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Charles. I hope that demo from Charles had provided everyone with a clear view of the importance of clean and disinfecting to remove germs. Because of the clear science and our experience behind the removal of germs, NCH has developed a very simple but important three-step program to effectively aid in the removal of germs from your facilities, and to be able to easily train your employees, which you will see on this slide. The three-step process is, first you need to clean and prepare the surface in order to get it ready for disinfecting or sanitizing. This will remove any dirt and grime, which is the reservoir for the virus and bacteria in the first place. Then second, we proceed to disinfecting or sanitizing the surface with the correct product. Third, it's about washing and disinfecting your hands as regularly as possible. This is to protect all employees, and this is the #1 way to stop the spread. So either washing or sanitizing your hands. With the three-step process, we have also developed a process to clean and disinfect the critical high touch point areas, which is going on the basis of the 80-20 rule of disinfecting, given the time constraints many of us face on a day-to-day basis in our operations, and now having to layer on an extra protective step into our everyday process. Example of these high touch areas would be control panels, machines and tools, office areas, the canteen areas, everywhere where people have regular interaction and are regularly touching and people are switching from person to person. The following slide is another part of the process we have developed, which is a very nice visual you could use to help your facilities as you implement a program. This shows all the areas that will need to be treated, either cleaned, disinfected, or maintained. It also shows that NCH can provide a total solution to ensure your facility is safer for your employees and customers. And this is what we are trying to do. The final portion of the disinfecting process, and perhaps one of the most critical, is ensuring you choose the correct product for your facility. And that starts with ensuring the product has a proper government registration for the germs you are trying to remove. And that can be found on any label or form. From there, we select the actives in which we would like to use, which there are 4 types of actives that are most popular in the marketplace and that NCH applies. All 4 are broad spectrum. And what I mean by broad spectrum is that if the right formula, all 4 of these can kill a variety of germs on the surface. The most common is a quat, and this is what NCH would recommend on a regular basis. The reason our quats are very versatile and can be used on a variety of surfaces without causing damage. They're also very stable for a good period of time and at high temperatures. The second are diamines and triamines, which are very similar to quats, just not as popular in the marketplace, but they do a similar job. A lot of times, the science says that we should actually interchange quats in these products so that we don't build resistance, just like we would with antibiotics in our body. So if we use a quat for 6 months and then these 2 products for 3 months and we alternate back and forth, it helps stopping the resistance building. The third is a chlorine. Chlorine are used in the marketplace, but they don't stay stable for very long, and they also damage surfaces and aren't as safe for employees to use. These you will find in a food environment, which are more common to sanitize, so they are not as abrasive there. And the fourth type is an alcohol. Alcohol also has its limitations. Even though they have a broad spectrum, they have limitations because they dry very quickly, so they don't necessarily always provide the proper dwell time on a surface in order to kill the germ. And they also can be quite harsh on surfaces, and they're also very flammable. So the most common one we would recommend is a quat. The next slides actually highlight part of the process, and it's the three-step process that I refer to. And I just wanted to highlight that in this process, in each of the steps, so for instance, for cleaning and preparing, with all the different surfaces, we have all the cleaners that would be necessary, as sometimes different cleaners need to be used for different areas. So for instance, on hard surfaces, you will either use a heavy-duty cleaner or degreaser, and NCH can provide that. You would consult with your local sales rep in your country, as they'll tell you the specific product for your country, as they may vary throughout countries. The same goes with disinfectant. We have the proper concentrates with the proper government registrations for you to fulfill step 2, which is cleaning and which is disinfecting and sanitizing surfaces. And your local rep will help you ensure that you find the right one for your facility there. And the final step, which I refer to as hand sanitizing and disinfecting and washing. We have a wide variety of products that allow you to wash your hands. So industrial hand soaps, regular hand soaps, also alcohol-based sanitizers, which should be placed around your facilities. After conducting this session several times for our customers across the globe, there has been several frequently asked questions, and I thought it would be beneficial to cover these in this session, which perhaps will also help lead to other questions you may have after listening to today's session for the live Q&A portion. These 4 questions include, should I use a quat or alcohol-based disinfectant? For general purpose disinfecting, quat is the most versatile, as I mentioned, and can be used across a wide range of surfaces and effective against a broad range of germs. Alcohol has limitations of flammability and evaporation, generally used on smaller surfaces like doorknobs. So the most common one you should use is a quat. When should I use chlorine? Chlorine is used a lot in food-based areas and can be used as a general disinfectant. However, it has certain limitations as well. Be careful on certain metals, such as stainless steel and aluminum, and it can be a skin irritant. So once again, recommended as a quat. Are there any benefits for using a quat-free product? Generally, products like these are very good multi-purpose disinfectants and are extremely useful to use in combination with a quat-based product, periodically, like 3 months on and off, like I mentioned, so it doesn't help build the resistance to the germs. And how would I know if a product has a viral-cidal claim on it? These need to be supported by the data and should be on the label. So you'll look on there if it has its actual government registration number, and that will tell you if the product is appropriate for use. In closing, I'd like everyone to remember that it is critical to ensure you implement a proper cleaning and disinfecting program with the appropriate products and processes. And that's what we're here to do. We understand that can cause a bit of anxiety, but we want you to know that the NCH teams in each of your countries are here to support you in that process. Thank you for your time and attention today, and I hope you found this session beneficial. Now I pass it back to Anna for our Q&A session.
Thank you very much for the information and the insights that you have shared with us, John and Dr. Charles. Now, let's watch a short video, and at the meantime, if you have not sent your questions yet, then you may do so now. We'll have a question and answer session right after. Now, enjoy watching the video.